From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN Noon News.
And good afternoon. Thanks for joining us on your MTN statewide news. I'm Andrea Lutz. We start with new information at noon. The Ranch for Kids in Lincoln County, where state officials removed over 24 kids in July of 2019, has had its license permanently suspended. The children were removed from the facility due to serious allegations of child abuse, and they ranged in age from 11 to 17. The State Department of Health, they say that the decision involves numerous violations, including the use of disciplinary walks in the wilderness without weather-appropriate clothing, the use of restricting food, with no phone calls to parents, and also withholding medical attention. In June of 2019, a call was made reporting that abuse. That led to an investigation. Now a new state law transferred the authority to the Department of Health and Human Services. This afternoon, authorities in Missoula continue to search for a man considered armed and dangerous, accused of shooting and killing a man at an apartment complex. When they arrived at the Creekside Apartments yesterday, they found a man dead in the parking lot with a gunshot wound to the head. Authorities are looking for 33-year-old Christopher Newrider, and they say he took off running after the shooting, could be hiding somewhere in the Missoula area. In Helena, an oncology doctor has been let go for allegedly harming his patients with unnecessary procedures. Dr. Tom Weiner is denying the claims. Instead, he says St. Peter's Hospital is trying to, quote, break him. On top of the abuse, the hospital's CEO says Weiner failed to meet state and federal laws associated with prescribing narcotics. In another claim, he denies that, and he also says he plans to bring legal action against St. Peter's. A man accused of setting traps on the Bitterroot National Forest in a form of a board with nails driven through it has pled guilty. Richard Joseph Stratton is charged with placing a hazardous device on federal land. It happened in November of 2019, discovered by a person carrying 2 children. The report says they stepped on it, but they were not hurt. Investigators say the board was covered with vegetation and not visible. Stratton says he placed it there because he was upset with bicyclists riding in the area. He now faces a possible penalty of a year in prison and a $100,000 fine. There is a shakeup coming to the Montana legislature, giving individual committee chairs more power. On a House Rules panel, Republicans voted to allow committee chairs to kill bills without a vote or a hearing. Under current rules, every bill introduced must have a hearing and a vote. And Republicans say the change is needed to make the process more efficient so lawmakers can focus on bills that really matter. Every Democrat on the Rules panel voted against the change. It won't, though, become official until the full House votes in January, but it is expected to pass. Kalispell Regional Healthcare is preparing an alternative care site to receive non-COVID-19 related patients. This as Northwest Montana does see a surge in cases. Well, the care site will be placed on the 3rd floor, and officials were warned last month to have a site ready to serve up to 50 patients, and now they're just waiting for that green light from state officials. The facility will open up more acute care hospital space for critically ill patients. The facility is just one of 2 alternative care sites in Montana. In regional news, a group is protesting outside a home in Boise, Idaho. This home belongs to the mayor after a new public health order requiring masks. Mayor Lauren McLean says protesters were heard chanting, "We will not comply," overnight. The new order also allows folks to report people or businesses that fail to follow the new guidelines, and they could be heard chanting, obviously, at her home. They were doing so over the summer, we're told. McLean did ask the protesters, though, to respect her neighbors. On the COVID-19 front, the state is now reporting nearly 800 new cases this morning. Montana counties have already seen some new deaths as well. 2 of those deaths reported in Dawson County, while Bighorn County reports another death. Well, the latest victim marks the 51st COVID-related death in Bighorn County. Already, Montana's death toll has reached 804. 656 new cases are reported, and the active cases in the state are close to 1,700. Some new numbers coming in just before noon, so I wanted to get those right. Okay, let's check in with Ed, though, on the weather scene. We had a little bit of a power issue here in the studio, didn't we?
That we do. In fact, all across Billings, we're getting reports of widespread power outages, and that's causing a lot of problems here even as of midday. For us, Actually, it ties right into what I wanted to talk to you about, because a solar flare moving this direction, which often upsets things with the power grid. And I'm not saying that has anything to do with Billings today, but it could cause a chance for you to see the northern lights for tonight. And in fact, this is one of the stronger ones that we've seen for quite a while. Those energized particles start to move in. They collide with the oxygen and nitrogen molecules across the earth, and that causes that green glow. This is fairly widespread too. Now, not everybody in the green area will be able to see the northern lights, but the chances are much higher than average. Take a closer look at the forecast details coming up.
All right, thanks, Ed. The Supreme Court rejected an effort by Pennsylvania Republicans to undo the certification of their state's presidential election. Just hours before the court's order was released, President Trump made a direct appeal to state officials and members of the Supreme Court to assist him in his efforts to overturn the election. But the court ruled with quick action. None of those justices announced dissent. President-elect Joe Biden filed 2 more seats in his cabinet, filling those, of course, and he chose former Iowa Governor Tom Vilsack as the Secretary of Agriculture. The president-elect will also nominate Ohio Congresswoman Marcia Fudge to the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. Well, some bell ringers are still taking donations this holiday season. The Salvation Army is trying something a little bit new in response to the pandemic. They are taking the red kettle in a virtual platform now. People can either donate online or in person with a debit or credit card that might be linked to their phone. Those with the Helena Salvation Army say they've raised $15,000 of their $50,000 goal. A lack of foot traffic at stores is one of the reasons behind that shift to a virtual platform.
Every indication that foot traffic is going to be less due to capacity, cutbacks in stores, etc. So, some stores only allow 50%. In some states in our division, they're down to even lower percentages of foot traffic. So that means less people coming by your kettle. That was one reason that drove the virtual kettle, needing that to supplement that income.
And the Helena Salvation Army will run its fundraiser through Christmas Eve if you still want to donate. Still ahead on today's Noon News, we hit the mats to learn about girls wrestling for the first ever time across our state. It's a new sport. But first, Ed is back in with a look at that statewide weather forecast.